Brand new footage from the Brazilian Grand Prix has surfaced and it changes everything. Oscar Piastri's penalty now looks far more questionable than the FIA first claimed. Was the Australian unfairly blamed for a first-lap collision that wasn't entirely his fault? With Leclerc out and Antonelli caught in the crossfire, Piastri paid the full price, but did he really cause it? This penalty didn't just cost him a race, it shook up the World Championship. Now trailing Norris by 24 points with 3 races left, the title dream is hanging by a thread. In this video, we reveal the crucial footage, decode what it proves, unpack the FIA's controversial decision, and analyze what this means for Piastri's chances of becoming world champion. Newly revealed footage from the Brazilian Grand Prix has ignited a firestorm. Oscar Piastri, McLaren's title contender and one of the most precise drivers on the grid, was penalized 10 seconds for his role in the Turn 1 incident involving Kimi Antonelli and Charles Leclerc. At the time, the penalty seemed harsh. Now, with fresh camera angles and additional radio data, it seems outright questionable. This wasn't just a racing moment, it may have been a massive officiating misjudgment with direct consequences on the World Championship. The incident itself unfolded in the blink of an eye. As the race resumed under safety car conditions, Piastri launched his attack into Turn 1. Antonelli closed the door just as Piastri had committed to the inside line. What followed was contact that sent Antonelli wide and led to the unintentional collision with Leclerc, taking the Ferrari out of the race. The FIA's reaction was swift, a 10-second penalty for Piastri, citing him as predominantly at fault. But was that judgment truly rooted in a full understanding of the dynamics? New footage tells a different story. It shows Antonelli adjusting his line in reaction to Norris just ahead, a move that subtly but critically reduced the available space for Piastri mid-attack. Meanwhile, Leclerc, coming in from the outside, was already on a compromised trajectory. With wet patches still on the inside from Saturday's rain and the entire grid on edge, it's clear this was a high-risk moment that demanded nuance. Instead, Piastri was handed a binary ruling, one that ignored the track evolution and the reality of racecraft under pressure. Oscar's response was as composed as his driving. He didn't lash out. He didn't blame. But make no mistake, beneath the calm, there was fire. His radio messages hinted at confusion, not aggression. His post-race interviews carried a weight of disappointment, not denial. That emotional control has become his trademark, and it's why fans and fellow drivers alike are rallying to his side. The footage now validates what many sensed, that this was, at best, a marginal call, and at worst, a misstep that could define this title fight. Because this is no longer just about Brazil. With 3 races left, Oscar Piastri sits 24 points behind Lando Norris in the Drivers' Championship. The penalty didn't just alter his Sunday, it shifted the trajectory of the entire campaign. In a sport where momentum is everything, where confidence at corner entry is the difference between pole and P4, rulings like these can devastate more than strategy. They attack rhythm. They stall belief. And for a rising star like Piastri, that has real cost. Oscar Piastri's weekend in Brazil was not supposed to be damage limitation. After a string of steady results and a dominant win in Singapore, Interlagos was circled on the calendar as a place to strike. It was his chance to close the gap to Lando Norris in the championship, to remind McLaren and the paddock that the title race wasn't over. But in just one corner, one chaotic restart, all of that was put in jeopardy. The 10-second penalty he received didn't just cost him track position. It dismantled a weekend that was supposed to be his resurgence. Before the contact with Antonelli and Leclerc, Piastri was running with purpose. The car was balanced. The medium compound was in the window. His race start was clean, and his pace was within tenths of Norris, who was leading from the front. But after the collision and the penalty, strategy went out the window. The team had to shift into recovery mode. Forced to serve his 10 seconds during the pit cycle, Piastri emerged behind midfield traffic, burning laps and tires just to get back into clean air. The difference? At least 15 seconds lost. The potential of a podium gone. In a title race separated by details, that's not just a setback, it's a strategic wound. The championship lead grew to 24 points. With only 3 races left and just 83 points available, that penalty wasn't just a sentence for Brazil. It was a shift in probability. Every point from now on carries the weight of a season. And the fact that this swing came from a stewarding call, not on-track pace, is what frustrates most. It wasn't a mechanical failure. It wasn't driver error. It was interpretation. And interpretation is a dangerous foundation to build a title on. Many in the paddock are now asking, was the FIA's decision proportionate to the moment? The footage shows it was a tight 3-car squeeze, with Piastri caught between a fading Antonelli and an unaware Leclerc on the outside. The conditions were unpredictable. The room was marginal. And yet, the FIA moved swiftly, with no further review once the penalty was issued. For a driver who has built a reputation on precision and control, the ruling felt not only harsh, it felt dismissive. Inside McLaren, the silence spoke volumes. There was no public defense of Piastri's move. No strong words of disagreement with the FIA's assessment. And while the team always maintains a neutral tone, the optics matter. Piastri may have accepted the decision in front of the media, but inside the garage, the atmosphere was colder. This isn't a matter of favoritism. But when one driver is leading the championship and the other is fighting the system, cracks begin to show. And that's where the real concern lies. Not in the 10 seconds lost, but in the 10 layers of trust chipped away. Trust between driver and team. Trust between competitors and officials. Trust in the championship narrative. For Oscar Piastri, the problem is no longer just the points deficit. It's the perception that his margin for error is smaller, that the rules bend more easily against him than for him. And in Formula One, perception becomes politics. Politics becomes strategy. And strategy decides titles. The Interlagos circuit is notorious for exposing every weakness in a car's mechanical grip and aerodynamic balance. McLaren came to Brazil with high expectations and a refined low-drag package, trimmed specifically for the long run-up to Turn 1 and the flowing rhythm through the infield. For Oscar Piastri, that setup gave him just enough rotation mid-corner without sacrificing rear stability, exactly the balance required for his smooth, momentum-based driving style. On Friday and Saturday, telemetry confirmed that Oscar was consistently faster than Norris in the second sector, where precision outweighs aggression. But in the Grand Prix, that balance was disrupted. After the early collision with Antonelli, the car took minor floor damage, barely visible but enough to offset the aero platform. Combined with the added weight from the longer stint caused by the time penalty, Piastri was forced to fight not just the field, but his own machinery. His corner entry stability was compromised. Traction off turn 12 became unpredictable. And despite all this, his pace remained competitive. That kind of control, under stress and with a car out of sync, is the mark of a top-tier driver. What separates Oscar from many of his contemporaries is his mechanical sensitivity. He doesn't force the car, he adapts to it. Where Norris tends to compensate with late braking and aggressive mid-corner rotation, Piastri shifts his line and pace profile to match what the chassis gives him. It's a style reminiscent of early Alonso: read the tires, feel the track, adjust lap by lap. And in Brazil, that adaptability was on full display. Even when stuck in dirty air behind slower cars after serving his penalty, Oscar protected his tires and kept his degradation profile stable. The radio messages were clinical. No complaints. Just tire deltas, balance adjustments, and clear communication. That calmness under pressure allowed his engineers to make targeted front wing angle changes on the fly, trying to rebalance the car around its wounded floor. While the penalty robbed him of a podium opportunity, his ability to manage pace while on an offset strategy kept McLaren in the points, a result that looked nearly impossible after lap 1. It's worth noting that McLaren's updates for Brazil leaned toward Norris's preferences: sharper front-end grip, more aggressive rake profile. Yet Piastri adapted quickly. Even in the cooler conditions on Sunday, which narrowed the tire operating window, Oscar was able to bring the mediums to life without overheating the rears, a balance few others mastered. Drivers like Sainz and Perez struggled with the same compound. Piastri managed it with wounded aero. That speaks volumes. And that's where the performance conversation needs to shift. The real story isn't that Piastri got a penalty. It's that he drove through it with consistency, mechanical feel, and total technical command. His engineers know it. His data proves it. And fans watching sector by sector saw the bigger truth. Even when the car was against him, Oscar wasn't just surviving the race, he was still extracting performance few others could match. From the outside, it looked calm. From the inside, it was war. As Oscar Piastri walked away from his car in parc ferme, there was no slam of the steering wheel, no shouting over the radio. Just the slow, deliberate removal of gloves, the focused nods to engineers, and a brief, quiet debrief. But to those who followed this sport long enough, that silence said everything. Piastri wasn't just disappointed, he was boiling underneath. And like all greats before him, he chose to funnel that fire into focus. His post-race interviews were clinical. No outbursts. No emotional soundbites. Just calm disbelief. "We'll have to look at the footage again," he said. "It felt like a racing incident from my side." Behind those words, though, was a message to the FIA and perhaps even to McLaren. Piastri doesn't speak in code often, but when he does, it's surgical. He doesn't need drama. He wants clarity. And in a season where every call counts, he's demanding it. Inside McLaren, the emotional dynamics are starting to shift. Norris leads the championship. Zak Brown's PR machine naturally leans toward the Brit. But in the garages, where the raw performance is measured lap by lap and not by headlines, Piastri is earning respect. Engineers know it. Mechanics see it. His consistency, his technical feedback, his refusal to buckle, those qualities are priceless under pressure. And after Brazil, the quiet respect for Piastri has only deepened. But with respect also comes tension. Piastri doesn't want to play number 2. He knows what he's capable of. And with Norris now 24 points ahead, that pressure is no longer theoretical. It's immediate. Every race from here is a shootout. And Oscar knows that if the team's strategies begin to tilt toward protecting the leader, not chasing the title, his fight becomes not just against rivals, but the very walls of his own garage. That mental load can break young drivers. Piastri, however, is built differently.